Welcome to Fellas Only Fellowship, where we talk about success, wealth, family, and positive statistics about black men, and also combating the public enemy #1 narrative. I'm Dr. Rayshawn Ray, and I'll be your host for the show. Now, I'm a sociology professor, I guess, by trade. I have a PhD. I'm also a senior fellow at a leading think tank in Washington, D.C., a policy think tank. Family man, married for 15 years, got 2 little boys. And look, I'm so excited about this conversation. Well, look, first off, I just got to say, look, when you have an old fashioned in your hand and it's an Uncle Nearest old fashioned, you got to say something about it, right? Because Uncle Nearest, of course, is a black owned whiskey. And I'll have another video talking a lot about that. But the point is, if you haven't had an Uncle Nearest old fashioned, you should do so, like we have the ability to sit here and partake in this evening. So look, I'm so excited for this conversation because I have some of my day ones with me who are going to be talking about success, wealth, family, just ways to get to where they are. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
All right, I'm Coach Karan Godwin, University of North Florida, former all-time leading scorer and Hall of Fame basketball player. I turned my passion into a business with a sporting goods company. I invest basketball training in sporting goods, in particular the ball hog gloves at ballhoggloves.com. I also train kids everywhere from the NBA all the way down to middle school. So I help bring scholarships into my community. So far, over $20 million in scholarships, and we're just gonna keep this thing going. So I'm Coach Karan Godwin.
Follow Coach.
Yeah.
I'm Darren Mitchell. I'm the owner of D&D Home Sale Group. It's a real estate company here and out throughout the DMV. I went to school at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I'm originally from Westchester, Pennsylvania, which is actually in between Lancaster and Philadelphia. And I used to formerly, just this year, I just resigned from the Defense Intelligence Agency. There I ran an office over there as a GD-15.
Hi, my name is Cottrell Austin. I'm a senior vice president at one of our local Fortune 100 companies. I'm going to say the name, but I better not. A graduate of University of North Carolina at Charlotte, my home state, North Carolina. Married 15 years this year. My wife and I have a 11-year-old son that runs us bonkers, but we absolutely love it. Just building businesses, and in fact, in the midst of building a self-storage unit here locally with a good friend of mine, and just enjoying life.
It's a blessing to be here. James E. Crenshaw. Most people call me Crenshaw. I am a husband and a father. Husband of 14 years next month. Father to a 10-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter who I love them both dearly. I guess we're just introducing ourselves. I'm about to say how happy I am to be here again. It's just good to be in the fellowship of good people and good brothers. So 9 to 5, I work in government procurement. For my dream, what I do for myself and for my family and goals. I'm a real estate investor. I own a small real estate investing company, We Solutions Homes. And I also own a small business consulting company, We Solutions, where we connect small businesses with big opportunities. And so I'm just happy to be here, and it's good to see you guys.
Hey, I'm Keith Jones. I go by Big Keezy. I'm just one of the homeboys from Ray. We went to college together, University of Memphis. I was his roommate freshman year. A little bit about me. I'm St. Louis raised, Memphis made. Been in Memphis after college. I've been in Memphis for over 20-something years now. So profession, I'm in the banking area. Vice president at a Fortune 500 company as well. Small business banking is what I specialize in. What else? That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Will Poindexter. You'll hear me referred to as Will, William, or Billy. It's all over the place. By trade, I'm a software developer, do websites, apps, and things of that nature. And that's my dream. That's my passion. And it happens to be what I do. And, as well, happy to be here and appreciate Ray and everybody.
Hey, what's up? My name is Kenji Conley. Been friends with Ray since University of Memphis. He met me and I ain't got rid of him since. 'Cause I love the brother. But first and foremost, I'm the father to Ava and Griffin, and everything else I don't really talk about. I'm a real estate broker, coach, investor. Right now, my primary focus is my kids. So, keep it short, keep it simple. But man, after what we went through the last 2 years, happy to meet y'all, brothers. Happy to, of course, see the people I know, but just happy to be in the same room with just good people. So I'm happy to be here, Ray, and thanks for having me, boy, man.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, when we talk about stuff like this, you all hear all the connections, all the different people. You heard University of Memphis. That's where I got my undergrad degree from. I then went on to Indiana University, got my master's and my PhD. I did a postdoctoral fellowship. That's what you do after you get your PhD. I did that at the University of California at Berkeley. Spent some time at the University of Michigan. Also taught at the University of Mannheim in Germany and a host of other universities. See, that's part of it. These are black people that you should know. These brothers are not only some of the most successful people that I know, they are just some of the most successful people on the planet. And so look, when we start talking about success, that is a term that people throw around, that people define and conceptualize differently. So I want to ask my good brothers, how do you all define success? What is success to you?
A couple things. I think that when you talk about success, I would say 20 years ago, it would just be being successful or being able to accomplish your goals. I would say that first. But now, because of the wealth gap, I think there's a monetary component to success. Because if you look at inflation, if you look at just private school, if you look at raising a family in today's environment, if you aren't successful financially and have your financial house in order, you can't get to your passion, right? So for me, success simply would be the ability to monetize your passion and be able to provide and perform at a high level.
Success, when I first think about success, I think about how personal it is. Because success first starts with self for me. So a mastering of self and the things that I need to do to be successful for the people that I love. Particularly, obviously, my wife and my kids. And so to get to those levels, to be able to make the financial investments in your neighborhoods and in your family and things of that nature, I got to get to myself first. And so I start with self. And when I'm able to accomplish the things that I set forth that are important to me and to my family, I feel successful. And then I branch out to what's important to the community, to the world, things of that nature. So it's very personal for me.
Yeah, I think if you ask 100 people, you might get 100 different answers. Success is a very, I think, personal definition to some, to most of us, to be quite frank. For me, success is being in this room tonight. That's a success for me. Success is for me, as funny as it may sound, is still being alive in my 40s. Based on my background and where I came from, many of us don't get there, don't get to 25, don't get to 30, and having the audacity to say, you know what, I want to do better than what I've seen done in my surroundings. To be a responsible, respectful man, to get married, raise a family, be able to take care of that family. That's success for me. All this other stuff, and thankfully I've been able to accomplish a lot of things monetarily, but success for me is just still being here and seeing my family happy and healthy and my loved ones happy and healthy. That's really a big definition of success for me.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. success to me, when I think about it, is a couple things. One, it's being there for my family on a day-to-day basis, the way that I envision being there for my family on a day-to-day basis, right? It also has the component of building a legacy for my family as well. So in order to do both, I have to rise to the occasion of the purpose that God put me here on earth, number one, and I have to remove any obstacles to that so that I can fulfill my purpose. And so I feel like success is when you understand what your purpose is in life and you go for it. And I think that's a big part of success, and I think it really ties into what everybody was saying here as well, in leaving a lasting legacy for the friends and family that you care about, and how they look at you. One guy had told me a long time ago, changed me. It says, "Hey, when you pass away, what's going to be on your gravestone?" So it's the year 4000, and they unearth your gravestone. What will the people say to you about you? And you only get about one line. What are they going to say about you? So and once you fill that in, now you have your purpose, and now you need to take the action to be successful in that purpose. The money and things kind of come along with that. Just because, like I think where you were alluding to and Quran was alluding to was society, this world, you have to accumulate some sort of wealth in order to achieve time freedom, geographic freedom, financial freedom. You need the financial in order to do those things so that you can help others. And then the last part is just that. So once, most people like us in this room solidify our families and, ourselves as people, like you, I love that, as people, we go to help others and bring others along. And so that's why I like being privileged, like he's saying, to be in this type of a room, because all of us do that. We pull each other up. That's success.
So I'll say that, I consider success to be a little bit more rudimentary. I think what success looks like is our children, our generation's children, in a room just like this, talking about their financial wealth as though it was part of their lives and it was supposed to be a part of their lives. What we're doing is we're trying to contextualize our success, but it manifests itself in only one way, and that's financial. It's only one way. I don't know another way to quantify the things that we've talked about as far as our families, as far as our goals and how we define success in that regard. I feel like it all manifests itself financially. And our children shouldn't have to, make an excuse for that, right? They should expect it. They should know what to do with it and be responsible with it, And I think that's what success will be, specifically for us.
What I'll say is a couple things. Success is me crossing off a lot of the things that I would consider very important to me in my life. Key items that are important to me on my to-do list, on my life's to-do list that I have. And the way it's revealed to me, the way that I receive that I'm actually successful is by people like yourselves, my family, my loved ones. It's almost like I become a subject matter expert. I become the one who provides advice and counsel to many people by some of the experiences that I've had, some of the accomplishments that I've had, some of the failures. I know that's one of the questions as well. Some of the failures that I've had and ways that I was able to bounce back from some of those failures. So to me, that's the way it quantifies for me, that I'm constantly being pulled, being asked for, like I said, for advice, to mentor people. With my firm, I'm a mentor to many people. So, I'm a manager of men. I've got younger brothers that look up to me. from a biological standpoint as well as not. But yeah, so I'm rambling now, but that's what I think about it.
Karan know this. I coached basketball for a long time, pretty much on part of what Karan doing as far as training. And success to me is when you see the people that you put into a position to be successful. Because it's like today, Ray and I were coming back from getting food, and I said, Ray, I ain't gonna say it. Remember so and so I'll tell you about. I used to manage. He a Grammy Award-winning producer now, and he texts me and says, hey, check this music out. So success comes from seeing him make it, and now he's texting me saying, hey, what you think about this? Or the guys in the NBA, hey, how did I play last night? Or just the relationships. We all got to work and make money, but the happiness of the success comes from that. And then building relationships for my kids, my nephew, other family members, knowing the ground you paved 10, 15, 20 years ago for when we talk about our kids getting older. You can make that phone call and say, hey, man, my son listen to me real quick. Can you talk to him real quick? Yeah. To me, that's successful. Yeah. The money will come along with it, but man, I've been in a situation where you see my people with money, I mean some long money, and they're like, man, I wish I can do what you do. Yeah. And you see people, happy people in the world. Thank you. Yeah. And so I just kind of altered my success vision a lot the last probably 7 or 8 years. Because the happiest people, a lot of times I see in Jamaica working at a hut or in the Dominican, beyond happy. So, everybody has different vision, but it's changed a lot the last 7 years.
Yeah, so look, when we start talking about success, you can hear how it's personal. People have different perspectives on it. But from a rudimentary standpoint, success is oftentimes simply about having a goal or starting with a dream, figuring out how to make it a goal and accomplishing it. It can be small or big. For some people, it's simply about getting to work on time. Like it's literally that simple. Like they got to figure out how to get their butts to work on time, right? But on a really big scale, for us, we are success stories. Coming from where pretty much all of us come from. Whether our folks were like us or not. And in this group, most of our folks were not, right? So part of what that means, simply us graduating high school was a big deal. Simply us going to college, simply us staying alive is a big deal. And then what happens is you start to transform how you think about success. And part of transforming it is thinking about what Keith was saying as well. The more successful you become, the more you fail, right? And the more you fail, the more you have to put that in a particular context. So I'm curious for you all, because it's something that people don't talk about a lot. We always talk about the wins, right? But one thing we know about MJ, that joker missed more winning shots than he made. Don't matter. Pretty much for our generation, that dude is the GOAT. Is no question about it, right? Now we can get into the debate. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this with the basketball gurus. I'm not gonna do it with the basketball gurus tonight. I'm not gonna do it tonight. I'm not gonna do it tonight because we've had those debates at Quran's crib. But my point is, we don't talk about failure, right? Particularly as black men, it's something that we internalize. So I'm curious for you all, what has been your biggest failure?
Biggest failure. Ooh, that's good.
What has been your biggest failure, and how did you cope with it? What's been your biggest failure?
Well, I would say a couple things. As a man of God and a Christian, and a guy that leads young men, I always say God first, work until. And that means you work until you master your craft. But in the midst of work until, you do have failure, and you have to fail forward to actually get there. Failure, sometimes I think people stop at failure, but failure, timing. If anybody here is an investor, right? Timing has a lot to do with many of our successes in life, right? And one of my personal biggest failures was a timing issue. I was able to get into the stock market at an early age. I would say right after college, about 23, 24. The next 2 years, I accumulated, I would say, around $40,000 I had access to, all right? I invested in a Sirius satellite radio at that time. I knew it was going to be in every car. I thought ahead. I hit it. It went from $1 to $8, right? And in that, my next progression, after that win, was to invest it in real estate to make it real. But it happened to be 2006, 2007, right? So I ended up buying at the wrong time, which ended up being a failure. And a lot of people stop right there. But it wasn't that I was a failure, it's just I had bad timing, all right? So I think that timing has a lot to do with things, and I think that my whole thing is God first, work until, and fail forward.
For me, my failure, my biggest failure, I've had a million of them, but I would say my biggest failure came some 15 years ago, and I'll try to make this really quick. Started my very first day in college, and first day of moving in, I met who would later become two of my best friends, Curtis Jenkins, Hussein Johnson. They didn't know me. I was moving in myself, and they helped me move some stuff in. We got to talking, became fast friends. Fast forward a week later, Curtis's dad came up, spent some time together, and his dad pulled me aside after about an hour and said, "Cottrell, you seem to, you're more worldly than these guys. These guys are saying," that he's talking about his son and our friend Hussein said, "They're young. You're a couple years older. They're trusting, but they don't see trouble coming. They just trust everyone," and said, look out for them. Always look out for them. And of course, I said, of course, certainly. So we all just became fast friends, went to school together, college together, roommates, graduated together. One moved off to Texas. The other one, Curtis and I, moved into an apartment off campus. And I always took what his dad said, take care of the guys. And then I got an opportunity to move here to Maryland. I left and Curtis stayed and kind of did his thing. And we kept in touch all the time. We talked 3-4 times a week. Well, May 12th, 2006, I got a phone call from one of my friends and said, "Did you hear about Curtis?" No, what do you mean? Curtis was found dead last night. And so I hung up the phone because that couldn't have been true. Curtis, I didn't tell you, Curtis is singularly the best person that I've ever met in this world. I in my head, I used to call him an angel on earth. I mean, he was singularly the best person that I'd ever met. And it turns out Curtis had become a mentor in his church, and they were mentoring at-risk kids. And this particular kid that he was mentoring, and again, Curtis is nice to a fault, trusting, he doesn't see trouble coming. And I was always that stopgap to make sure that I filtered everyone, as much as I could anyway, everyone that kind of came into contact with him, because I know that he could easily be taken advantage of. And one night I found out later that, the kid that he was mentoring came to his house one night with his friends, and they robbed Curtis. They stabbed him. They left him on the floor to bleed out, and they were caught 12 hours later somewhere in Tennessee with his car. And I lost it. I couldn't function for a week or two. My mind was just, man, you felt him. And that plagued me for years until one day his dad called me. And I'd see his dad call him, but I just didn't want to talk to him because I'm thinking, I got to tell this guy now that you gave me a job and I failed. And I finally answered this a couple years later. And he said, "Cottrell, you did your job. You took care of Curtis. You made sure that he was always okay." He said, that's not on you. That's on the person that did that to him, the teens that did that to him. But to this day, I still feel like, man, what if I not moved here to Maryland and not left Charlotte, and Kurt would still be alive, and Kurt would be my son's godfather, and And so that to me is that was by far I've had failures in the workplace and in other places like everyone else, but that is singularly the biggest failure that I've ever had, and one that I think it's Einstein said, failure is progress and is success in progress. But that's one that you don't get a second chance to kind of make right. But that is very personal, and that's my biggest failure in life. So.
One of my closest friends growing up, and some of y'all know him, when we were growing up in Atlanta, he accidentally shot and killed one of our other friends. And then to add insult, they were playing with a gun in the house. We were teenagers. And then to add insult to injury, because of Atlanta law, Georgia state law, he got tried as an adult, even though everyone knew it was an accident. So then not only did one of our friends die, the other one was put in prison, in an adult max prison, for the entire time that we were kids, right? And now you look at redemption. I always think about redemption. When I think about failing forward, you think about redemption. This brother has been out. He's been working at the same place for nearly 20 years. He's a single dad raising a daughter. And even though he's still profiled, he gets pulled over by the police pretty much once every month, right? But this brother is doing it. And I have no doubt he would be, just the things that he would have done had he not had to go to prison for that, but the things that he has done in spite of that, to me, when I look at him, I'm like, man, this brother, he's it. Wow. When we start talking about like how you succeed and what you do, it's not like people gonna know his name at the drop of a hat. This brother going to work, taking care of his daughter, staying out of trouble, trying to be happy, right? And when we talk about success, that's how we think about happiness. So, anybody else got thoughts on your biggest failure and failing?
Either the streets gonna raise you and teach you, or you lucky enough to get a mentor or have an uncle or something. But if you don't have that, man, you just figuring shit out. And when you figure shit out, you gonna fail. And at 43, I'm doing different stuff today. I'm like, well, it's either work or it's not. I'm gonna learn something. And so I always pick something out and say, I kind of hope I messed this up. I could learn this. Yeah. And I done failed so many times. Like it became fun after you get to a point of maturity, because how else you gonna learn being comfortable? It's like coaching. I always tell my guys, man, go make a mistake. Just go full speed and make the mistake though. Don't go slow and make the mistake. Go full speed and make the mistake. It's like life. In the laws, like go try something, you make a mistake, what did you learn? Kenji, I said, damn, I ain't do that, I would have did this different. All right, I'm gonna teach my son and my daughter this. Next time I'm gonna do this. And I kind of like failure. It's crazy to say that because now I'm not afraid of it. Mm-hmm. So if somebody comes to me and says, what about this business idea? You want to get into it? It'll sound and talk. I might not know nothing about it. Yeah. I'm going to learn something and I'm going to fail, but I'm going to learn. Yeah. But like no other than you watch Shark Tank, you just got to get it right one time. That's it. Get it right one time. And after that, you be like, man, I'm glad I took that one chance. Because you failed 1,000 times to get that one time right. So I embrace it.
Take one.
Yeah, I don't want to. You all said a lot of really good stuff, and it's interesting. Let me stay still here. Billy and I, we were discussing some of the questions, and he's probably laughing here to himself because I wanted to, one of the things that I wanted to bring up as far as a failure is my failure to be present. When you're out there getting it in the hustle and the bustle, especially with the expectations of being a man, and like to Kenji's point, not having a blueprint in front of you. I didn't have a blueprint in front of me, even though, my dad was somewhat, I'm not going to say he wasn't around, but I didn't have a blueprint, just to say that. I have a failed marriage, because it didn't work out. I failed in my career numerous of times. There's been numerous things, but the main thing that haunts me to this day is, my brother being killed. And I wasn't going to bring it because you just brought up something. I didn't want to, kind of bring more sorrow to the conversation, but it's one of those things that I really didn't sit down and address. I just kept working. I just kept building. I was in the middle of a marriage, so I didn't want to completely crumble. So instead of, letting it, tear me to pieces, I piled work on, you know what I mean? And to the outside looking in, the outside world gonna say, man, you really was getting, you know what I mean? You really built yourself up to a point now where, how did you do it? But there's some sacrifices that I made and there's some things that I didn't address. One of those being my brother being killed. My family was really, really in my ear about, encouraging my younger brother to move with me out of St. Louis into Memphis. And I talked to him, but the part where I feel like I failed at the most was not being assertive enough in his ear to do it. He would have listened to me, he looked up to me, I was his big brother. Everything that I did, he followed everything, everything that I did. And, I nonchalantly talked to him about it, but it wasn't a sense of urgency around getting out of there and coming down and living with me like my younger brother did, who was able to, learn how to be a man, learn how to pay bills, learn how to, struggle a little bit, you know what I mean? Live off, eating packs of noodles, for the week and cornbread and stuff like that. And, he left me, my youngest brother left and, went back to St. Louis and started a family and never missed a beat. But my middle brother, we didn't get that opportunity. I didn't push for that. And like I said, it's one of those things I haven't addressed and just thinking about, something to talk about. That's one of the things I feel like I failed in. I didn't do enough to, encourage him to move and to come down and let me kind of help mold him into an adult and a man.